It's March 2023 and I've headed 2,700 miles south into the tropics to the island nation of Cabo Verde and its most popular island, Sal. 320 miles west of Cape Verde on continental Africa and some 800 miles south of the Canary Islands, the archipelago of Cabo Verde consists of 10 islands and 5 islets, all formed from volcanic activity around 40 to 50 million years ago. The northeasternmost of the islands and focus for most of the nation's tourism is Sal, with large resort complexes located down on the southern coast in Santa Maria. Santa Maria, with a population of less than 8,000 people, accounts for nearly 50% of all the hotel beds across the nation, mostly in the large complexes along the south and west coasts from the likes of Tui, Melilla, Rio and Hilton. It's very possible to come to Santa Maria and never leave your hotel complex, but that would be a massive mistake as the island has plenty to see despite its dusty, arid environment and lack of resources. In fact, tourism is now the main source of income on the island. Before the arrival of the Genoese and Portuguese navigators around 1456, the islands were uninhabited, though classical mythology has a set of islands some 2 days' travel from the westernmost part of Africa called the Gorgades, home to the mythical Gorgons killed by Perseus, which suggests that there may have been knowledge of the islands for several thousand years. Modern-day Sal was first settled by Europeans on the 3rd of December 1460, who initially named it as Tlana, meaning flat. However, the name was soon changed to Sal with the discovery of the natural salt ponds in Pedra de Lume and Santa Maria. The island was only sparsely inhabited to the extent that by 1720 there was only a small fishing village near present-day Palmeira on the northwest coast. Being one of the first islands to be hit by the sands blowing off of the Sahara, generally low-lying and with little vegetation, the island is in effect a desert with no ability to support agriculture. However, 2 areas did have a marketable resource in form of salt ponds, and from the end of the 18th century, the island was going through a salt boom, with 30,000 tonnes of salt being exported each year within just a few years of production starting. Eventually, a combination of salt production elsewhere and the invention of refrigeration, which took away the need to cure meats in salt, slowly killed the industry in the island, with production finally halting in 1984. But what do you do with an island surrounded by golden sands that gets more than 350 days of sun and just 6 to 10 days of rain a year, never really gets colder than 20 Celsius and rarely goes above 30 Celsius? Back in 1967, a small hotel had opened close to the pier in Santa Maria, originally providing accommodation to airline crews whose flights stopped on the island. At the time, Cabo Verde was the only nation in this part of Africa that let the apartheid-era South African Airways overfly or land. From that one hotel, and with the closure of the salt industry, the tourism industry boomed, with a growing march of resort complexes along the beachfront west out of Santa Maria and then north up the west coast of the island. Today, one of the most important companies on the island is Tui, who own several resorts in either their own brand or under the sub-brands of Robinson and Rio, and the company even runs a college located in the town's market hall. One of the easiest ways to explore the island is to take an e-bike tour that allows you to, with minimal effort, visit large parts of the town and let the powerful electric motors and chunky tyres of a bike push you through the sand of the beaches. The first stop on any such tour is Shell Beach, located just to the north of the centre of Santa Maria and formed from the shells that fishermen dispose of as they catch shellfish and molluscs off the coast. Cleaned by being tumbled through the water, the shells form a large bank on the beach where the tide washes them back up. Though it's not advised to take the shells as, whilst they are technically just industrial waste, trying to get shells through customs in most other countries could land you in a whole load of trouble. A short distance further around the coast and you reach the beach of Praia de Igrejinha. The beach is popular with Santa Maria residents and features wide sands, as well as a small lagoon formed by a volcanic reef just offshore. The beach continues down the headland to start of the Reserva Natural de Costa de Fragata, a wide sandy beach and nature reserve where around 30% of all the loggerhead turtles that nest on the island come to lay their eggs. The area is now under strict protection to try and help preserve the threatened species. Back inland from the beaches and you reach the former economic powerhouse of the south of the island at Salina, the salt ponds that were an original source of income on the island. The ponds are located slightly below the sea level, and the seawater seeps in over time into the base of the ponds, constantly replenishing them. On top, the baking Cabo Verde sun evaporates off the water, leaving behind the salt, which is then scraped into piles to complete the drying process before being collected. Today, the production of salt is limited to the needs of the island and for the production of giant salt crystals for sale to tourists. A little further up the coast and you reach the top end of the nature reserve and one of the world's best locations for kite surfing. The combination of the strong trade winds and wide bay that the whole of the southeast coast of the island sits in creates the perfect conditions for those wanting to partake in the sport, and even in mid-March there are a fair number of takers. Heading back in towards town and you reach the Pachamama Eco Park and Viveiro Botanical Gardens. Created to showcase the nature of the islands and to act as a sanctuary for a number of animals rescued from pet shops, the park is a pleasant palm-covered area to wander around and experience the tropical plants from some of the other Cabo Verde islands. Turning north and about halfway up the island on the east coast sits Shark Bay. The bay takes its name for the lemon sharks that inhabit the waters around here that you can get up close and personal to by paddling out into the bay. Lemon sharks are named for the pale yellow markings, particularly on their two dorsal fins, and can grow up to 11 feet or 3.4 metres in length. There have only ever been 10 recorded cases of lemon sharks biting humans, and none of those have been life-threatening. But even so, you might wonder why anybody would want to go out and test those stats. But in reality, it's never the adults you get to meet. The first part of the bay is a wide, shallow reef that creates an ideal space for baby sharks to use as a nursery. Whilst the adults stay in deeper waters at the edge of the reef, and their much larger dorsal fins can regularly be seen piercing the waters at the start of the reef, only the smaller juvenile sharks come into the reef itself. Once in the reef, the naturally inquisitive sharks are happy to swim right up to and even between the legs of humans who are standing in the water. West across the island and you reach the wide bay of the southwestern coast of the island below Monte Leão, Lion Mountain, named for the shape of a lying down lion that the hills make against the sea, and the small village of Murdeira. The small sandy bay, protected by arms of volcanic rock that almost close off the entrance to it, is a popular spot, particularly in the afternoons, for swimming, as the shallow waters are heated by the sun to be much warmer than those on other parts of the island. Along with the views across the Lion Mountain, it's possible to get a better understanding of the volcanic origins of the island from the rocks that form the bay. North to the centre of the island and the area called Tera Boa.
A man life, and when they become to the other side of the world, they become. And then they do everything.
Here, the wide expanse of desert, punctuated by the almost perfect cones of long since extinct volcanoes, trap the heat down on the parched earth, creating a heat haze in the distance, and with that, the weird reflection of the sky into the haze, forming the mirage of wide lakes of water in the distance. Over to the east coast and you reach the Blue Eye Cave north of Palmeira. These volcanic chambers and lava tubes have been slowly eaten away over millennia by the sea, creating pools and caverns at sea level, and below the waterline tunnels that join areas together. Between about 10 AM and 1 PM each day, the position of the sun and the reflection of the underground tunnels and caverns create the Blue Eye, a patch of much brighter water in one of the caves, a unique optical illusion. Back to the west coast and to the second and largest of the two salt ponds at Pedra de Lume. The salt ponds, like those in Santa Maria, are formed because the land they sit in lies below the level of the sea. But here the landscape is made all the more impressive as the ponds sit in the caldera of a long extinct volcano, accessed by a tunnel carved into the caldera rim. When production was at full blast, a cableway hauled the salt up from the caldera floor, over the rim of the volcano and then down to the harbour for quick exporting. Today, the cableway is gone, though the wooden support structures still stand. However, the ponds and salt mining still goes on. As the water is evaporated off, the salinity in the remaining water increases, such that in one pond, the salt level in the water is 26 times greater than that in the seawater, to the point where it's impossible for a human to sink in the water, making the Salinas a popular attraction to go to for a very salty dip in. Just don't get the stuff in your eyes. Aeroporto Internacional Amilcar Cabral is the only airport of the island of Sal and the main international airport for the nation of Cabo Verde. Given the level of tourism on the island, it's only natural the main airline visiting the airport is TUI, with regular flights year-round from the UK, Belgium, Germany and the Netherlands, along with seasonal flights from the Nordics. Flight times from the UK and Northern Europe are around 6 to 7 hours direct. Binta Canarias links Sal to Gran Canaria and the Canary Islands, whilst Cabo Verde Airlines and TAP Air Portugal provide year-round links to Lisbon, where their connections available more widely. There are also connections from Sal to some of the other Cabo Verde islands, with Best Fly Cabo Verde.